A 100-year flood sounds like a flood that would happen every 100 years. It's also referred to as the 1% flood, which is probably just as confusing. If you pick up a die, give it a shake and a roll, what are your chances of rolling a 6? You have a 1 in 6 chance. Now repeat the process. What are your chances of rolling a 6? It's still 1 in 6. If your home flooded in a 100-year flood last year, in theory, it has the same chance to flood next year, which is a 1 in 100 chance. These statistics are based on historical flood data, but climate change is increasing rainfall intensity and causing sea levels to rise. So next year's 1 in 100 chance flood event could have more rain and deeper flooding. Unfortunately, flood damage isn't covered by typical homeowners or renters insurance policies. Cities participate in FEMA's National Flood Insurance Program, which requires policies in the highest flood risk areas. FEMA maps high flood risk areas, but these can be based on outdated information and don't look at all kinds of flooding. So we also need to look to other sources to get the full picture of flooding. In addition to FEMA flood maps, other information can help assess your risk. NJ Flood Mapper is a great tool to look at all this information at once.
It includes, for example, the FEMA maps, which we just talked about, but it also includes the sea level rise projections that we talked about. It also includes what is hurricane inundation mapping, and it's, you can kind of zoom into your favorite, where your house is, or your favorite restaurant, or kind of your town, and see what the sea level rise or flood inundation might look like.
Fortunately, there are many ways we can prepare for climate change and increase our resilience. It's a term we've used a lot, but what does it mean exactly?
New Jersey defines climate resilience. We've defined it in the statewide climate change resilience strategy as the ability of social and ecological systems to absorb and adapt to shocks and stresses resulting from a changing climate while becoming better positioned to respond in the future.
How do we come up with a plan of action for shaping resilient communities that is inclusive of everyone? We can start by asking what we want our communities to look like in the future. What do we want our relationship with water to look like? What types of community spaces do we want to see? Planners often call this community vision. We then study our surroundings and look at where people live and work, and focus on the areas with the highest current and future flood risks.
This region has experienced flooding from several different types of storms in the past. Hurricane Sandy in 2012 was more of a coastal flooding event. Hurricane Irene just the year before was more of a heavy rainfall event. And Hurricane Ida just this last summer was another heavy rainfall event. And in the future, we can expect to see more storms like those in the past, both heavy rainfall and coastal storms. And we expect them to be worse in the future because of sea level rise and also because of increased precipitation. And we're also going to see over time more and more tidal flooding, which is really, sunny day flooding because of tides being higher on a daily condition.
We can come up with solutions or projects and actions to increase resilience based on best practices and experience from community members and leaders, combined with some innovation.
There are 3 types of solutions that we're evaluating through the Resilient New Jersey project. One is the physical and nature-based solutions. So that might include construction of green infrastructure like rain gardens or reconstructed wetlands. The second is recommended changes to policies and governance. That could include incentives or requirements for developers to include green infrastructure in their development projects. And third are outreach, education, and capacity building. An example of that might be a flood awareness outreach campaign.
Some strategies make more sense to address flooding in certain areas. In our densely built-up region, we need to look for ways to adapt what's already here. By retrofitting our homes and buildings, elevating important utilities and systems, and increasing resilience of our transportation, We can also create more places for water to go with stormwater storage beneath parks. The actions can also have other benefits, like creating green or recreational space. A plan is only useful if there are clear ways for recommendations to be implemented. Resilience planners work to identify sources of funding to advance capital projects, to collaborate with leaders who can organize programs and outreach, and to outline timing of when things need to get done. You can help build the future that you want to see by voicing what is most important to you. Express support for projects that you care about that increase resilience, and talk to your neighbors about why they matter. Visit the Resilient Raritan River and Bay Communities project website to learn more about flood risk and the program's goals.